Good morning, crime community. I'm here to read about Aurora Leigh. This is chapter 3, book 3. Today thou girdest up thy loins thyself, and goest where thou wouldest presently. Others shall gird thee, said the Lord, to go where thou wouldst be not. He spoke to Peter thus to simplify the death which he should die when crucified head downward. If he spoke to Peter then, he spoke to us the same. The word suits many different martyrdoms and signifies a multiform of death. Although he scarcely die, apostles we, and have mislaid the keys of heaven and earth. For 'tis not in mere death that men die most, and after our first girding of the loins, in use fine linen and fair broidery, the run uphill and meet the rising sun, we are apt to stir tired, patient as a fool, while others gird us with the violent bands of social fragments, feints, and formalisms, reversing our straight nature, lifting up our base needs, keeping down our lofty thoughts, head downward on the cross sticks of the world. Yet he can pluck us from the shameful cross. God set our feet low and our forehead high, and show us how a man was made to walk. Leave the lamp, Susan, and go to bed. The room does very well. I have to write. Beyond the stroke of midnight. Get away. Your steps forever buzzing in the room tears me like gnats. Ah, letters, throw them down at once, and I must have them to be sure. Whether I bid you, never bring me such and such an hour, or bid you, no excuse. You choose to bring them, as I choose perhaps to throw them in the fire. Now go to bed, and dream, if possible, I am not cross. Why, what a petty thing I grow, a mere woman, a mere flaccid nerve, a kerchief left out all night in the rain, turned soft, so overtasked and overstrained, and overlived in this close London life, and yet I should be stronger, never burn your letters, poor Aurora, for they stare with red seals from the table, saying each, here's nothing that you know not, out alas, 'tis scarcely that the world's more good and wise, or even stranger and more consequent, yet since yesterday at this time, yet again, if but one angel spoke from Erat, I should be very sorry not to hear, so open all the letters, let me read. Blanche Ord, the writer of the Lady Fan, requests my judgments on that afterwards. Kate Ward desires the model of my cloak and signs Elisha to you. Pringle Sharp presents his work and social conduct craves the little money for his pressing debts, from me who scare for money for my needs. Art's fiery chariot which we journey in, being apt to sing our singing robes to holes. Although you ask me for my cloak, Kate Ward, here's Ruggly, know it, editor and scribe. He's forced to marry where his heart is not, because the purse lacks whom he lost his heart. Ah, lost it because no one picked it up? That's really loss and passable impudence. My critic Hammond flatters prettily and wants another volume like the last. My critic Belfour wants another book, entirely different, from which will sell and live. And striking book, yet not a startling book. The public blames originalities. You must not pump spring water unawares upon the gracious public full of nerves. Good things not subtle, new yet orthodox, as easily read as the dog-eared page that's fingered by said public 50 years since first taught spelling by its grandmother, and yet a revelation of some sort. That's hard, my critic Belfour, so what's next? My critic strokes objects to abstract thoughts. Call a man John, a woman Joan, he says, and do not prate so of humanities. Where eat, I call my critic simply strokes. Much critic Johnson recommends more mirth because a cheerful genius suits the times, and all true poets laugh unquenchably like Shakespeare and the gods. That's very hard. The gods may laugh, and Shakespeare, Dante smiled with such a needy heart on two pale lips, We cry, weep rather Dante. Poems are men, if true poems, and who dares exclaims at any man's door, here 'tis understood, the thunder fell last week and killed a wife, and scarcely a sickly husband. What of that? Get up, be merry, shout and clap your hands, because a cheerful genius suits the times. None says so to the man, and why indeed should any to the poem? A ninth seal, the apocalypse is drawing to a close. Ha, this is from Vincent Carrington, dear friend. I want good counsel. Will you lend me wings to raise me to the subject in a sketch I'll bring tomorrow? May I at 11, a poet's only born to turn to use, to save you for the world and Carrington, right after you have heard of Aurora Leigh? Beyond what's said of him in newspapers, his philanthropies, there, here, speeches here, his pamphlets, pleas, and statements everywhere. He dropped me long ago, but not one drops a golden apple, though indeed one day you hinted, but jested, well at least, you know, Lord, how he sees him whom he sees, and now see, and I fade to see, for how stands high upon the brink of theories, observe the swimmers, and cries very fine, but keeps dry linen equally unlike the gallant breaster Romney. Strange it is, such sudden madness seizing a young man to make earth over again, while I'm content to make the pictures. Let me bring the sketch. A tiptoe danye, overbold and hot, both arms aflame to meet her wishing Jove, halfway and burn faster down the face, and breast upturned and straining the loose locks, all glowing with the anticipated gold. Or here's another on the same theme. She lies here, flat upon her poisoned floor, her prison floor, the long hair swathed about her to the heel. Like wet seaweed, you dimly see her through the glazed haze of that prodigious rain, half blotted out by nature, by a love of heavy as fate. I'll bring you either sketch. I think myself the second indicates more passion. Surely self is put away, and calm with abstractions. She is Jove, and no more Danae. Greater thus, perhaps, the painter symbolizes, unaware, to states of the recipient artist's soul, one forward, personal, wanting reverence, because aspiring only will be calm, and know that when indeed our Joves come down, we all turn stiller than we have ever been. King Vincent Carrington will let him come. He talks of Florence and may say a word of something as it chanced 7 years ago, a hedgehog in the path of a lame bird, or the green country walks in that good time when certainly I was so miserable, I seem to have blessed a blessing ever since. The music soars with a little lark, and that lark soars. It is not thus with men, and we do not make our places with our strains, content while they rise to remain behind, alone on earth instead of so in heaven. No matter, I bear on my broken tail. When Romney and I parted thus, and took the chamber up these flight of stairs, near from being as steep from some lark's climb, and there in the certain house in Kennington, 3 years I lived and worked, get leave to work in this world. 'Tis the best for you at all, for God in cursing gives us better gifts. 'Tis men in benediction, God says sweat, for forbids, men says crowns, and so we are crowned. Ah, gashed by some tormenting circle of steel, which snaps at a secret spring, get work, be sure 'tis better than work to get. Serene and unafraid of solitude, I worked for the short days out and watched the sun of lurid morns and monstrous afternoons, like some druided idyllic fiery brass, with fixed unflickering outline of dead heat, from which the blood of wretched pent inside seemed oozing forth incarnate in the air, pushing out through fog from this distillated disk, and startled the slant roofs and chimney pots, which splashes of fierce color or I saw for only a great tawny weltered fog involve the passive city, strangle it alive and draw it off into the void, spires, bridges, streets, and squares, as if a sponge had wiped out London, or at noon and night had clapped together and utterly struck out the intermediate time, undoing themselves in the act. Your city poets see such things, no despicable mountains of the south, when drunk and mad with eternal wines, and rend the seamless mist, and stand up bare, make fewer singers happily. No one sings, descending Sinai on Parnassus Mount. You make a mule to climb and not a muse, except in fable and figure, forest chant their anthems and themselves. You leave to you dumb and sit in London in the day's decline, and the view of the city perish in the mist like Pharaoh's ornaments in the deep Red Sea. The chariots, horsemen, footmen, all the host suck down the choke to silence. Then, surprised by a sudden sense of vision and of tune, you feel as conquerors through you did not fight, and you and Israel's other singing girls, Miriam with them, sing the song you choose. I worked with patience, which means almost power, and did some excellent things indifferently, some bad things excellently. Both were praised, the louder loudest, and by such a time that I myself had set them down as sins, scarce worth the price of sackcloth. Week by week arrive some letters through the sedulous post, like these I've read, and yet dissimilar, with petty maiden seals entailed twined of lilies, or a heart marked Emily, convincing Emily of being all heart, or rarer tokens from younger bachelors who wrote from college with the same goose quill. Suppose they had just been plucked off, and a snatch from Horace, collegesive juvat set upon the first page, many a letter signed or unsigned, showing the writers at 18 had lived too long. Along a muse should help their dawn by holding candles, compliments to smile or sing at. Could such pass with me? No more than coins from Moscow circulate at Paris. Would 10 rubles buy a tag of ribbons on the boulevard worth a soul? I smiled with all this youth, should love me, sighed. With such a love could scarcely rise them up to love what is more worthy than myself, then sighed again, less generous, to think the very love they lavished so proved me inferior. The strong loved me not, and he, my cousin Romney, did not right. I felt the silent finger of his scorn prick every bubble of my frivolous fame, and my breath blew it and resolved it back to the air it came from. Oh, I justified the measure he had taken of my height. The thing was plain, he was not wrong a line. I played at art, made thrust with a toy sword, amused the lad and maidens, came aside, deep horse and resolution. I would work the better ends or play in earnest. Heavens, I think I should be almost popular. If this went on, I ripped my verses up and found no blood upon the rapier's point. The heart in them was just an embryo's heart, which never yet had beat, that it should die. Just gasps of make-believe, galvanic life, mere tones inorganized in any tune. So we will leave this story for another day. This effervescent burning between Aurora Leigh and Romney. Yesterday I talked about my Aunt Donna McElwain. I wrote a letter to the coroner's office. We'll end up for a report of what they say. Was Forest Lawn correct, or was the Los Angeles and other papers in the area correct? One day we will find out. So until we pray for peace, love, and joy, and have a nice day.